Welcome to Bookends of Recovery. I'm Laura, a certified life coach, and I believe that we can face our challenges through hope and action. Okay, today we are talking about your recovery and healing toolkit. I love to share this one right away. I do this with clients, group members, because right in the beginning of recovery and healing, it's the one thing that people appreciate because it is hands-on and it is something that people use, especially when they're trying to figure out how to navigate triggers. So this is like the one place you can keep your recovery tools, all the things that you learn along the road to recovery and healing. So first we'll do one for your mind, and then we'll do the physical one. And look, you guys know I've been clean for 30 years, and I still continue to keep my uh, recovery and healing toolkit full of fresh and new ideas. I mean, I just had a book come in a couple of days ago because I love to rotate things out so that they don't get stale. Because if I use something for too long, I find that I don't appreciate it as much because I might end up, either taking it for granted or just getting bored with it. And then what happens? It sits on my nightstand or, on my desk and gets forgotten about, collecting dust. And that's just not good for me because I don't want to become stagnant. And, I want the things that I have in my toolkit to benefit me and not, I don't want to become, like I said, I don't want to become stagnant. So, let's see. And you know what else? I have also learned that uh, to keep things in my toolkit that I thought I'd never use, because at the beginning of my emotional sobriety journey, which also got published today, I turned my nose up at 12-step groups because I attended one for a short time and someone said something I didn't like, although it was totally accurate, and I decided I would never go back. And yeah, totally accurate, but my ego was big enough to keep me out of the rooms for nearly a year. And that year was just a nightmare. Not only did I do myself a lot of emotional damage during that time, because I mentioned in the previous podcast, that was when some stuff was cropping up about my trauma from the past. I also delayed my healing and my recovery, all because of my ego. But I digress. Okay, so let's get the focus back on you. And I will say that most of my podcasts will be fairly short, so because it's just me. You guys don't need to hear me ramble on all the time. But so I'm going to start this episode off a little different than the majority of my podcasts, because we're going to do a mindful exercise, and typically I would do those at the end so that people who aren't interested in mindfulness can click out. But this one I like to do in the beginning uh, because it is a good way to kind of set the tone. So if you're not interested in mindfulness, I would say fast forward about, I don't know, maybe 2.5, 3 minutes, and then you'll learn more about tuning into your body before creating the physical recovery and healing toolkit. So, for those of you that are sticking with me, I want you to go ahead and start with some deep breaths. Those are the kind that reach all the way into your diaphragm. And I want you to inhale and exhale slowly. I want you to do that 2 or 3 times. And remember, you're inhaling positivity and exhaling negativity. Okay? Now, I want you to imagine your recovery and healing toolkit. I want you to picture it close to you. You see it in your mind's eye? Good. What color is it? Is it a standard looking toolkit? Or maybe it's like a quilting bag. Maybe it's made up of neat square cubby holes. Maybe it's a tote bag or a beach bag. I want you to go a little bit deeper. I want you to imagine hearing it open and close. Do you see anything surrounding your toolkit? Do you smell anything? Feel anything? Now I really want you to focus on the sound that it makes as it opens and closes. And go ahead and touch it. Is it soft or hard? What's the feeling that you're feeling? Is it security and calm? Okay, and I want you to imagine, bring it closer in your mind's eye, make the colors real bright. Very good. All right, and go ahead and in your mind's eye, push it back a little bit. Good. Now that you've got your toolkit in your mind's eye, I want you to go ahead and create separate spaces, whether that's in the form of drawers, pockets, shelves, emotional spaces. That's up to you. There is no right or wrong. This is going to be where you can mentally store the things that you learn on your recovery journey. Great. Go ahead and open your eyes. Now, do you have to have this image of a toolkit for your recovery to work? Absolutely not. But in working with people, I have found that it helps because when things get chaotic, they can close their eyes and know that they do have the tools. They just need a moment to pause, step back from things, and remember that they have the tools available to them. And so that's just like the little mental place inside them that says, okay, I have this. Okay. And it helps to practice that mindful exercise when you're feeling calm so that when things are feeling like a bit hairy, it's easy to access. And I know for me in the beginning, like when things are just so chaotic in your brain, sometimes it's just, especially like in the beginning of recovery, things tended to be very black and white. And so when things were neat and orderly, when you're not able to accept the gray just yet, something like this can be really helpful. So just having that mental space to organize the tools to learn, it was just a great mind trick for me. And so I hope it is for you too. Okay, so now let's move on to the physical recovery and healing toolkit. First, we are going to talk about So this would be for when you are experiencing either a trigger or in those moments when you're feeling anxious, which can be um, a step off into a trigger. So again, preparation is the key. Like I live on the coast, and so we need to be prepared for the possibility of a hurricane. And we have a hurricane kit tucked away in one of our closets. And so this way, if a hurricane comes barreling up the coast, uh, we're ready. We've got, flashlights and batteries and a crank radio, non-perishable food, water, evacuation plan. And most of the time, we do not need to use anything in our hurricane kit, but sometimes we do. Uh, but it's better to have it and not need it than need it and not have it. And the same holds true for our healing and recovery toolkit or go bag, whatever you want to call it. And so we can use it to help us in moments of crisis. Of course, we don't want a natural disaster to happen, right? But we can be ready for it. And we don't want that slippery slope of triggers or anxiety to happen, but we can be prepared. There's nothing wrong with preparing for something. I think it's a great idea for healing and recovery. Okay, so let's start with the awareness first. We do this by tuning into our body. We can be aware of the signs of a trigger and the anxiety. So you can do a self check in. If you haven't heard of either blasted or halted, one of my group members used to say blasted, which I thought was funny. But blasted is it's an acronym. It stands for bored, lonely, angry, stressed, or tired. Uh, and halt is hungry, angry, lonely, tired. And so they just combined everything into blasted. But if you're feeling one of those things, or you are one of those things, you're more susceptible to your triggers. And so obviously you just need to address it and take care of it. And so tune in and notice if your body is trying to tell you ahead of time. Is your heart racing? Is your breathing getting shallow or quickening? Are your thoughts racing or even slowing down? Are you starting to become hyper focused or fixating on something? Is your thoughts starting to turn negative? Those moments when it's starting to swirl and spiral downward. Is there an odd sensation in your stomach? Are you trembling? What is your mind trying to tell you through your body? Because when you are in tune with your body, you can step outside of that addiction cycle that we go through. And there are moments in that cycle where we actually can stop and pause for a moment and get away. So if your body is trying to tell you something, listen and then utilize your mental recovery and healing toolkit. And we can do that by, like I said, step back, pause, and then ground yourself. So you can take a moment, and grounding yourself means bringing yourself into the present. So just take a moment and notice what's around you. Be mindful of where you are, who you're with, what situation you're in. Uh, and this kind of helps with triggers. Like, be aware if you're trying to avoid anyone or anything, including emotions. And then use mindfulness techniques to relax, like deep breathing or guided imagery, which is the next podcast. And if mindfulness isn't working, you can utilize your physical recovery and healing toolkit. So let your imagination on this and your senses be your guide. So choose a bag or a tote or a backpack or anything that you can place some of your favorite comforting items in that can easily be accessed. And think of this as your emergency response kit for when your body sends out an SOS. Some people create several versions for work or home or school, even in their car, and you can use this um, kit or go bag, whatever you want to call it. And it doesn't have to cost a lot of money or, for it to be effective. This is just, and you can add to it continually. Don't think like you have to do this thing all at once for it to do well. You can use things that you already have at home, like things that bring you comfort. I had someone that used a box and then they decorated the box. I had someone else that used a trunk that they had at home. Someone else used a beach bag. Me personally, I used backpacks that my kids no longer use. So just whatever you want to do. I had a uh, bag here in my office. I had another one in my car. And so that was just my way of being able to just, if something struck, I always had something near me. And the idea is that you want, oh, and I had somebody else, sorry, I'm distracting myself. Somebody else decorated a box and then they put like all the things on the outside that would make them happy. And they used just like glitter and just, they went all out. It was really cool. Anyway, so you want to make sure that the things on the inside are going to engage your senses. Because when we do this, like I said, you want to ground yourself. And when you're engaging different senses, that has a more um, probability that you will ground yourself when you're using, your eyes, your smell, your ears, just that kind of stuff. Your nose. Okay, so you want to reach into that. You want to be able to reach into that your toolkit and grab something, use it, and feel a bit better. And then if you find out that you're still feeling triggered or anxious, reach in again and then use something else. And then, keep doing that until you're in a calmer state, right? And that's why it's a good idea to have just a bunch of different things in there. So here's some ideas, both from mine and from people I've worked with. Uh, a journal. We love journaling. A notepad, sketch pad, a gratitude list. It is true that having an attitude of gratitude helps because the more you live in gratitude, it really does shift your frame of mind. Favorite quotes and lyrics. You can even have a recovery book in there. Non-recovery books as well, because sometimes you just don't want to be thinking about recovery when you're going through a trigger. A favorite picture, whether this is of your favorite person who inspires you, or a place that you want to visit, or a place that you have visited that brings you back uh, healthy and happy memories. Or maybe it's an event that you went to and just loved. Or maybe it's an event that's going to be coming up and that you're looking forward to. Affirmation cards. I'm a big proponent of, a big fan of affirmation cards. They just have a way of making you feel confident. A coloring book. Yes, they're in. Coloring de-stresses you. You can have a coloring book with coloring pencils, or heck, if you want, get crayons. But it does de-stress. And they actually have coloring books for grown-ups. So they're on Amazon, and I think even Michael's has them, and they're not expensive. If you have a favorite T-shirt in there that brings you comfort, or another item of clothing uh, that lets you feel, brings you comfort and lets you feel safe, um, make sure you also include, speaking of safe, phone numbers of safe people to call. If you do not have safe people that you can pick up the phone on, uh, please make sure that you start creating a support system, because you cannot heal and recover alone. This is something that you actually need to reach out to other people for. If you don't have that base, please reach out to me and we can start helping you build that base together. You can even include a dryer sheet because it does, they smell good, or lotion, or maybe even a candle. You don't have to light the candle, but you can if you want. But just those smells to help, that the familiar smell that makes you feel happy. We've had people that just their favorite lotion, because sometimes when you put on lotion, it's like, oh, this, I remember when this happened, or a soap. Favorite warm socks. I have a pair that um, my husband gave me for Christmas, and they just, every time I put them on, I'm like, oh, they're so fuzzy and warm and comfy. Yeah. And make sure to include a healthy snack and some bottled water, because remember the blasted, that is a lot of times just something that you can do to alleviate those feelings. And a great idea is a fidget toy. Sometimes when you're feeling stressed and you use a fidget toy, it does alleviate that extra. I wish you could see me, but I'm like tensing up my whole body. That extra energy that's in there. So, what can you imagine in your go bag? What do you think your favorite item would be? Like, if you don't have it in your house, like, what would you love to just be able to put in there? And what's a way that you can make that possible? And think about, what's your favorite sense to engage? Uh, is it smell or hearing? And make sure to include that in your bag. And if there was just no price limit, just imagine like what you would love to put in there, just for curiosity's sake. So yeah, if no matter where you are in your journey, whether this is your first day, your 100th day, your 100th first day, I want you to know that you can do this. You have strength you never thought possible. And I am in your corner rooting for you, okay? You are a superstar, my friend. If you have any questions, whether it's about your recovery and healing toolkit, or about anything else, if you want to schedule an appointment or free worksheets, please visit my website, lifecoachlaura.org, lifecoachlaura.org. Uh, I wish you all the best. Thank you so much for stopping by. You have an amazing day. You know why? Because you deserve it.